There are going to be so many legal challenges to this.
Sure.
There's so many planning issues that, you know, it may look like a bold decision by the government, but in fact, it's putting it in the long grass because it's never going to happen.
No, but the job of the government isn't to prejudge what legal challenges there will be. The job of the government is to govern and take tough decisions. And what you didn't show in your clip was people in Gatwick, MPs, colleagues of mine, who will protest and say they don't want expansion in Gatwick. Now, if we listen to the MPs in Gatwick and we listen to some of the objections to Heathrow, we will never get anything built. And it's clear that after the Brexit vote, the one thing we need is more connectivity, more connections.
No, I understand that.
But where do you propose to build it?
The point I'm making is it might never happen because you can tie them up in the courts and have all these protests.
You've made the most essential point today, which is we need expansion. Will this decision make it longer? It's not even in the long grass. It'll never happen.
But so look...
So that's the tragedy of today. Nobody wins.
It's not a tragedy.
It's never going to happen in Heathrow. So if the government decides Heathrow, we've just got another year of scrutiny and consultation when Gatwick could have got on with the job.
So,
or other
Tania,
options.
you say Gatwick. I can assure you there are people just as diligent as MPs who will, to their dying breath, say they will never want expansion at Gatwick. And so we get into the same situation that we've been in the last 40 years where nobody takes a decision.
If I may, on the Gatwick, though, because the pollution data are completely different and the numbers of people affected are completely different.
But your counterparts are saying exactly the same thing about Gatwick. They don't want expansion.
You haven't got a million people.
But you see, I mean, honestly, to me, this all sounds a bit pathetic in the sense that if the Cabinet is taking the trouble to meet today and is taking a decision, surely the national government ought to have the capacity to make sure this thing's happen rather than we have another 5 years of arguing and all the rest of it.
You've seen here the problem we've got, and you've got it at the highest level of government. You've got a split cabinet. We all know where Boris Johnson stands on this. We all know where Justine Greening stands. And, you know, we're going to have exactly the same debate. So what the government has said is that we should have a vote in the House of Commons. I'm confident that Heathrow will win that vote. And then we can get on with it.
But as I understand it, even once that vote happens, it's not going to be clear to actually sort of getting the bulldozers rolling.
You're absolutely right, because as you know, the councils will be making legal challenges and other groups, not just councils.
But there isn't
I think what will happen by next year is that more of the data will come out. Airports do cause environmental problems. Go ahead.
I find frustrating about the debate is that Tania has said she wants expansion.
Yes.
So where do you want expansion? And I suggest that any way you propose will have exactly the same difficulties. The estuary airports, the estuary councils didn't want it. In Gatwick, they didn't want it. Nobody wants it.
If I may, the problem with Heathrow is that the cost, the environmental cost, is the highest of any option. That's the problem. And when we talk about 1 million people, not to mention the security problems as well over the most populated area. Sure. And not to mention that, you know, more people will be affected than everybody under the flight path: Paris, Amsterdam, Munich, Madrid.
But you, as a Conservative MP, face a choice, don't you? Which is your government, let us say, is about to decide to build at Heathrow. It says that's in the national interest. Isn't that actually the moment where you need to shut up and get behind the government?
My role as the MP, as I've always said in Twickenham, is to do what is right for my constituents. And it's not just my constituents, it's all the people affected. Now, when we talk about noise pollution, air pollution, noise pollution, we know with the data, is actually affecting children's reading ability, learning, long-term memory. So it goes beyond the decision today.
Suppose our argument is not an argument.
Hypothetically, suppose the government comes out for Gatwick today.
I'll support it. But I don't think it's the best option.
Yeah,
I will support it because I recognise that we need expansion. I mean, you nod your head sagely, but we all recognise this. But when you say, where are we going to expand, you get a million objections. Gatwick, people will object to. The estuary airport, lots of people will object to. Heathrow, lots of people object to. So you end up doing absolutely nothing.
Heathrow's the riskiest on all those levels. When you talk about the actual data... No, for 1 million plus people. So when you talk about the decibel levels
where do you think
and
we
the
should
nitrogen
expand?
dioxide. So I said, as in the Parliament debate, there are the regional options as well as Gatwick. And we know Birmingham wants to expand, and we know other airports want to expand.
Would you consider resigning and fighting a by-election like Zach Goldsmith over all this?
I've always said, and I said Hustings, I've always said as MP, I will fight as MP. And even after 18 months, I've already got more information from Heathrow and challenged them on their science data. And I've always said, regardless of expansion, Heathrow needs to be better.
No,
because
I agree
we've
with
already
that.
got.
I agree with
so
that.
I will carry on fighting that.
Do you think he's right to resign and cause a sort of political crisis, if you like?
You have to honour a pledge, and Zach made that pledge.
But let's not exaggerate. I mean, I know you like exaggerating things in the media, but this isn't going to be a political crisis if he resigns. It's one MP. He can't ransom the whole government, with his threats. If he wants to resign, he's a good friend of mine. If he wants to resign, then that's up to him.
No, but I mean, he might bring back the man you were sorry to beat in the election. Talk of Vince Cable might stand in the...
All political argument is good in our area.
Would you like to see Vince Cable back? Do you think he'd be more useful than Zach Goldsmith?
That's up to Dr. Cable, isn't it?
I don't comment. I couldn't possibly comment. Well, I imagine Zach will be a formidable competitor.
Do you think it's a sensible thing to do to sort of...
Well, Zach made undertakings years ago that this is what he would do, and he's a man of his word.
No, I understand that, but is
it?
I mean, he might be a man of his word and say he's going to, jump in the river, but I mean, is it sensible? Is what
I don't think that was a sensible undertaking, but once he made it, I can understand why he wants to keep
What about Boris
pledge.
Johnson? Not going to lie in front of the bulldozers, as we understand. Do you think
I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that. There will be others with him. I haven't heard him saying he's not going to be on the bulldozer. But I don't see time-wise how it will ever get to that point. I just don't see it happening. It's not deliverable.
I think she's wrong.
Do you think it's going to happen?
But you see, I think it will happen, because all the objections she makes, you can make about anything, any expansion at all.
Not at this level of magnitude.
We've got to get through this.
Right, we've got years in which we're going to hear further arguments on this. Thank you both very much indeed.